Now I'm recording. So I want to believe you get the idea, but if you don't get the idea, please drop your question so that I will answer it. Now let's move straight to what we have. And like I said the last time, if you have any question on what I have said, you don't understand it, please ask me questions now based on the project team. Now, the idea of the project is this. I will teach you today, I will teach you tomorrow, and I will give you an assignment to deliver by next week, Friday. So, but from next week, you will start working on your project. So your weekly assignments will be your project. So every week, you should do something on your project and submit. The next week, you add to your project and you submit. Then the next week, which will be the final week, you add to your project and you submit. So you have just 3 weeks to round up your project. But each day I'll be teaching you. You also get the opportunity to ask me questions based on what is in your project, and I will answer you. That one will not be an assignment. So whatever question you have based on the project, I will answer you. But if you are going to be picking a project, please pick it today and tomorrow so that I know what it is. I know how to budget my time and data to attend to you also. Yes. The project submission is the final project for this program. If you do your project very well and I grade you very well, you'll be selected to work with the, what is it called again? Incubation program, where you get to meet other developers too. All right, so we'll start with, where's CareerEX? Yeah, and I want to think it's this one. I believe so. Sorry. You can't see my screen. I'm sharing my screen now. What's wrong? No. The incubation program is not paid. It's not. Can anyone see my screen? Yes, Wisdom, you can. Actually, you start the backend before the front end. Now, in an ideal company, backend developers start the same time designers are building. The same time designers are actually starting. So you start the backend. The front end will wait for the designers, and then from there, they start consuming the API that is built by the back end. You can't see my screen. Oh my, let me stop sharing. I'll stop. Let me share again. Can you see my screen now? All right. Okay, let's continue from where we stopped. The project group will be for everything related to your project. The main reason why I created that is if you have any project in mind you want to work on, you go there and you drop the project so that I will know what you want to work on. And you have today and tomorrow, but after tomorrow, I will be assigning you project based on numbers you pick. You pick a number. If you pick number 1, it means you'll be working on number 1 of my project. If you pick number 2, you'll be working on the second project I bring out, just like that. So that is what the project group is for. Now, from the last time, what we did, we stopped at a post request. A post request that registers users' accounts. It can be users, it can be doctors, it can be any users, not just users. It can also be for cars. Your backend can be for cars. Either you sell cars, you buy cars, you hire cars. Your backend can also be for pharmacy to sell drugs, buy drugs, and so on and so forth. So the ideal thing here is that we have an API that creates data on the user data. For now, you can't group yourself. It's in the incubation program that you can actually group yourself. Right now is a personal project. You work on it personally. But if there is any change, if I see the need to group you, I might do that. But for now, you're working personally. So here, we are accepting the user details, accepting their details from the request body, validating to make sure that the user is sending us their email. And also using that email, we are trying to find one account, if there is any account associated to that email on the database students, on the student's database. If there is an account, that means if this returns data, it will say there is an account. But if it returns empty, it means there is no account. I think that is where we started from, or let's say that's where we stopped on the front end before building the back end. I know we had to call APIs. We had to call JSON placeholder APIs. That is how you impute them into the front end. You make a request to that backend and you fetch the data. That is how you don't merge the codes together. No, you don't merge the codes. The backend will be deployed separately if you want. The front end will be deployed separately, except you are a full stack developer. But if you are just one, both of them will be deployed separately, and the front end person will just be calling the endpoints into the front end. We did that, and I'm sure, yeah, we did that, very sure. So moving on, the data we accepted, we're going to pass it through our schema, the student schema, to create a new student. So we are passing the data through the schema to make sure that it follows the student schema. Now, the schema is the format with which we want to save data. So if we do that, the next thing is to save the data on the database. When we save it, we return a message that says registration was successful and then the details of the new user. And that was the first endpoint. And the second thing was to make a GET request to get all the students that have been created into the database. So we create a variable. We create a variable, call it all students, then await. Now, like, you know what await will do? Go to the student database, find everything. So find means to find everything and then store it in all students. Then return a message that says successful. Return a count that is counting the length of the arrays returned, and then the details of that array. Is anybody on mute? Or is it coming from my end? All right. So the next thing we want to do is to write an API that is going to fetch one. So we want to get one, update one, delete one. So these are the three things remaining: to get one, update one, and delete one. Two persons are on mute. Who on the mute? All right. So the first thing I want to do is to run my server and make sure that it is running. I'll open this up with an external terminal. Then I will run npm dev, or maybe npm run dev. Actually, npm run dev. So it's running and MongoDB connected. Now, MongoDB, we only connect it once, and I want to believe you have an idea how to connect to MongoDB. It is very, very important that you know how to connect to MongoDB. So my server is running and everything is working very fine. So how do we build an API that is going to find one data? Now, it can be to find one user. It can be to find one product. It can be to find one drug, one car, one anything, or one blog. It can be one of anything. So they are just the same thing. I will write app.get. Getting something means you are finding one. So I can call it one student. One student, and then accept the request and response object like this. So the first thing I want to do is to accept the user or destructure the user ID from the request params. So from the parameters in the request, they should be sending me an ID. Now, this ID is coming from the request parameters. And where is the request parameters? Request parameters is the endpoint /ID. So parameters come with the endpoint. Adding ID here and then adding a colon beside it means that this thing is not hard-coded. So if I write it like this, it's a different thing. This means this ID is hard-coded here. It will always be referred to as ID. But if I put column, then this ID here is a placeholder, meaning that it is not permanent. The ID can be anything. So that is the difference. Now, if you're adding parameters, you add it to the endpoint. Now, if you write student ID, it means what you'll be accepting from the parameters should be student ID. So whatever you put here as your parameters, that should be what you should accept or the structure. And you don't have a limit to the parameters you can add. You can add hospital ID together. You can also add another thing. And these three parameters, you can accept all of them in the same way. In the same way. So parameters are added to the endpoint, and you can destructure the parameters from the request params. So right now we are dealing with only one, and I want to call it ID. And what I'll be destructuring will be the ID. So if you see ID here, it doesn't mean that it always or must be called ID. No, it is what you add here as the name of your parameters. That will be what you will be destructuring. So what do I want to do? I want to go create student, a variable called student, and I say await. Go to the students database dot find one. Not find by ID. Since I have the ID, find by ID. So this is not async. Make it async. You only use await in an async function. Find one, then you pass in the ID. So I am creating a variable for students, and I await for the request to go to the student database and find by ID. Then I'm adding the ID here. Now, if you call find by ID, make sure that whatever you are adding here is the ID. So if I change this name to something like student ID, that means I will be destructuring student ID, and what I will be passing here will be student ID. So if you call find by ID, make sure you are passing in the ID here. So I will return back to what I had before. This is going to return student. Now, if not student, meaning if you try to find a student by that ID and you don't find a student, this returns empty. Then return a response with a status code of 404, meaning not found, and a response message, JSON rather, that will say student account not found, or anything you want. So if this does not return a student, this is going to be empty. So if this is empty, it should return a message that says student account not found. Otherwise, return a response with a status code of 200 and then a JSON message. You can put anything as your JSON message successful, but make sure you are consistent. Your 200 message can either be success or successful. So if you are using successful, make sure that throughout your backend, anywhere the message is successful, you are using the full letter and the exact capital letter, small, the exact same way. Don't do it two different ways. And also, if you are writing message as message, don't write it as small letter, some small half, some full. No, be consistent throughout your backend. Now, if you're writing the message in full, make sure the messages are in full. If you're writing them abbreviated, make sure your messages are abbreviated. If you're writing your success in small letter, make sure they are all in small letters. But if you're adding cap lock, make sure throughout your backend they are cap locks. Be consistent. So you return the response and then you return the student. So this is going to return a student to us. So how do we test this out? I will open my Postman. Okay, I will open Postman. Please, 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 at this point, you need all the attention you can get. Now, I know that it's not always, sorry, where is our workspace? Where was I? Did I create anyone for cohort 2? No. You try. And this I had cohort 2 here. Cohort 2 is MO. Okay. So I will create another one, and then the address is localhost. Let me check out the port. The port is port 7000. So I will add 7000 here. And the endpoint, I need to find the endpoint. The endpoint is /1student/ID V. So here, the ID is not permanent, it's a placeholder, meaning we are supposed to replace this with the real ID. How do we do that? We need to get all the students, get all of them. This returns all of them. And then we copy the ID for the first student. And then come here and replace this with that ID. So that means the placeholder is gone. Now we have the real ID. Now, if I send this, it's fetching me only one data, and this is the data it's fetching for the person with that ID. Now, if I go back and look for somebody else, okay, all of them are just with my name. Okay, they are all my names, but no issues. We are going to change the names. And let's find the next person. I will copy this ID. I'll copy it. Come here, replace this ID, delete this one, replace the ID, and send the request. Now I have another user. Now, even though they are all with my name, they are not the same users. They are different users. So that is for getting one request. The next one will be to update a user. So we go to app. You can either choose to use patch, put, or post to update your user. Now, the most important thing is you know what you are doing. I will explain the request type to you, but you are not bound that it must be put request, it must be patch request, it must be post request. The three of them will accept data from the front end. So what you do with the data you accepted is entirely up to you. You can choose to use that data to find another data, which will be like doing a GET request. You can use that data to delete another data, which is be like delete request. So if you understand it very well, you are not bound to anything. You can do whatever you want on the back end. But you know that a put request will update all the data. A patch request should update part of the data. So that is different. Now, what I would do is I will go with a put request dot put, and then the endpoint to be /edit student, and then pass in my function. I'll keep this here. So pass in my function that will accept the request object and the response object. The first thing I want to do is to find the user ID, to destructure the user ID. Why do I need the ID? I need either the ID or their email or their phone number, any of these three, so that I will use that detail to find them on the database. Because I know that no two persons will have the same ID. No two persons will have the same email, and no two persons will have the same phone number. You can also do it with their NIM or BVN or any of that data, that any data you know that it cannot be used by more than one person. So it can either be the ID, you are getting it from the params, or you can either be getting their email or phone number from the request body. So if I'm getting it from the request body, I might want to use their email or phone number to find them, or I might choose to go with their ID to find them in the params. So anyone will work. You don't have to do both or three of them. It's actually three. You can either find them with the ID, or with their email, or with their phone number. So, but I will go with ID. If I'm going with ID, that means I need to accept ID in the params here. But if I'm going with email, I don't need to add anything in the params because I'll be accepting it in the body. Also, you can accept ID in the body. As a backend, you are in charge. You can tell the front-end guy to send you the ID in the request body. It's your choice. You can also ask them to put it in the params. It's also your choice. So you are just in charge. The most important thing is to do the logic, perform the logic. They don't really care where you ask them to send the data, but perform the logic and let it be working. I want to hope that we are complete in this class, just 20 of us. That's okay. It's fine. It's all good. There's a class I started newly, a new student, and there's one girl in that class. That girl is super. She hasn't seen anything code before, but she's super motivated. She follows me up. She asks for questions. She asks for assignments. She asks for videos. She just follows me up back to back, back to back. That is the kind of energy and motivations you need this period, like from now going forward. A friend of mine, we were talking yesterday. He called me on phone that he applied for a job that's supposed to get him the job. No. It's not another cohort. It's not. It's just a simple class. Just a simple class. Yes, you can actually accept the email and the phone number in the params if you want. You can, but it will make the URL very long. You know that this is where the URL, this is part of the URL. So if you are replacing this, imagine if you are replacing this with an email like David Sampson shift@gmail.com. Now, this is going to be in the URL. It's not professional. It's not. But you can if you want to. You can if you want to. But this is not professional, accepting the email in the params. Now, it happens for financial institutions. If you are working with Flutterwave, Paystack, any of those financial transactions, you'll be accepting the transaction ID here in the params. So it works. Transaction ID can be here. Transaction references can be here. You can accept it here. But email and phone number doesn't look fine. But if you want to, you can. Let nobody tell you can't. You can do anything you want so long as you put your mind to it. So I have this. And what do I want to do? I want to say const updated user will be equal to await. For await, I need to make this async. Please, if you have a question, drop your question in the question and answer. That is the only place I can see it because this is little close. Yes, the API name is the endpoint, so you need to add them at the endpoint. Await, find one user. So go to students, the student database dot find by ID and update. So find by ID and update. That is the mongoose command to call if you want to find by ID and update. But if you are finding them by email or something else, email or phone number, because you know that this is ID, whatever you are passing in here must be the ID. So, but if it's not ID you want to use, you can say find one and update. Sorry, let me just change the name. So find one and update. Now, whatever you want to find it by, you add it inside this object. So, but if you're finding by the ID, you add the ID inside here. But don't worry, you're going to do it. So here it's going to accept two things. The first thing is the ID that I want it to find it by. The second thing is what I want to update it with. So if I want it to change the name, I need to be sending name. That means if this is coming from the params, the name has to be coming from the body. So if it is the name you want to change, you add it here. So whenever you call find and update, you are passing in two things. The first thing is what you want to find it by. The second thing is the new information you want to update it with. So if it is only the name you want to update, You pass in only the name. If you want to update name and maybe gender, I don't know if we have gender. What is our schema? Sorry. Our schema is first name and last name. So let me update first name and last name. Sorry, this thing has gone wrong. So here, first name and last name. All right. So if you have more details you want to update, you get to add them. NIN, whatever you want to update, you add them. So when we are done with that, you want to return a response. Dot status of 200 and a JSON message. A JSON message that will say, you know what? Let me just make this drop down. A message that will say successful, and then return the user to be the updated user. Sorry, updated user, like this. So this is a simple put request. You can change this to a post request. You can change it to a patch request. It doesn't really affect the logic inside here. But looking at it, you should know what a put request means. So if you are not the one that wrote this backend and you see a documentation where it says this is a put request, you by default, you know that they are trying to update something that is already there. But if you see a post request, you will not know whether they want to update or they want to create a new one. So you will not know. Now, if it's a patch request, you know that they want to definitely update something that is there. Not all of it, but some part of it. So I have this. What I want to do is to test it out. I will find all of this is the first person. So I will create another one. And it's going to be localhost. Let me find the endpoint. This is the endpoint. I will copy all of it. You know what? I think I should keep this one here. So paste it here. I need to find the ID. So let's come here. I can either choose this person or go here, choose anybody here. So I will choose this ID. I want to update this person's details. So I will replace this ID with the real ID and then add something in the body. The body is expecting first name and also last name. So here I will change it to Marcos. I don't know who is Marcos. Gilbert. I also don't know who is Gilbert. So I will send this request. It says this endpoint does not exist because there is something I'm not adding. Oh, it's a get request. It's not a get request. It's supposed to be a patch request. Show us the error. Let's see what the error is. Bisola, let's see what the error is. So I need to change this to a put request and send. Now, it has actually updated this person's name, but it returns the old data. It has updated this name. How do I know? If I come here to get all the users, this is the last person, I send it and go to the last person. Now you see the last person has actually been updated. But when I did the update, it returned the old data. Now from the code base, when you add the ID you want to find it by, and this whole thing will return the one that was updated, not the updated version, but the one that was updated, sorry, the older version. So to actually return the current version, you added something like new, true. New true means it is going to return the current one, the new one, the new one. And also this also means if I am trying to update a data and that data does not have first name and last name, please create a first name and last name. That's what this also means. So this means it will return the new one. And also if I'm trying to update data and that data doesn't have first name and last name, also create first name and last name. So I will try again by adding SSS TTTTT and send. Now it is returning the new one. So it's updating it and returning the updated version. So that is what this code base is. Now we can update another person. Let's find another ID. The first person here. I will update this first person, change this ID, and change the name to one name, Sonia. Sonia who? Doe. Like that. And then send this request. Now it is updated. Sonia, you can update both the age if you want. You can update both password if you want, but we're going to come to password proper. User is a keyword. Is this an error you are having, or is it for us? Wisdom. All right, so this is how to update user. Is it on my own code? I don't think I have user on my own code. So this is how to update any data. Now we are working with students, but it is not limited to only students. It can be for any model. As a matter of fact, I need to point out, when you are building a project, if you look at our model here, where's our model? Here. We have only student model. Let's assume you are working on a hospital management system. A hospital management system is going to have more than one model. For example, you have doctor's model, or maybe doctor and nurses model, or maybe doctor and nurses and patients model. You will have what do they call it? Test model for all the tests that have been run. You have a treatment model for all the treatment that have been made. You might also have a payment model for payments that have been made. You might have any detail you want to save. You are going to create a model or a schema for that. User is not a keyword. Where is the user? No. You can call this thing anything. I just want to call it user. The reason why I added as user is so that the front end person will be seeing it as user. If you add it as GGG and save it, by the time the message is coming back, what the person will be seeing is GGG. So it doesn't make sense that they will not know who these details belong to. So these details is the details of the user. That is why I'm adding users here, so that when it's returned, you will know what this detail is for. Now, if you want to call it doctors, you can, of course, you're going to be building for some person will be building for doctors. You can call it a doctor, and these details belong to the doctor. By the time you send this request, it will be returning the doctor. And you don't have to use one word. You can use more than one word, maybe doctor profile or something, right? Whatever you want. So when you return the data, it will be coming back as doctor profile. So it is what you want to be seen by the front end. So the front end is going to see message. The front end is also going to see whatever key you put here. So it's not, and I know I also use student here. So what they will see is students here, one student. No, and here, what they will see is all students. And here they will see count, and then that will be the number of the item. So whatever key you want to use is entirely up to you, but I prefer to use user. So save that. Now you don't need to add this thing. This part is not needed. Replace all of this with the ID. because this ID here is a placeholder, so you remove all of it and just replace it with the ID the same way we have it here. You see, here there is no ID here again. You replace it with the ID. All right, so the last part is to delete. Now, these things is full CRUD, and CRUD, you can do CRUD for any application. It can also be for social media to create posts, Facebook creating posts, Facebook, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to create. That is what we're doing now. The last part is to delete one thing, to delete. So we go to app.delete, and then you say /delete student, or maybe I'm calling something else. Delete student hyphen. Now, I am adding the ID here because I want to find it by the ID. But like I said, there are so many ways. Accept the request, accept the response, and then what else? So destructure the ID from the params is equal to request.params. And you want to find it by the ID. Let me minimize this. You want to find it by the ID. So I'll say const deleted student is equal to await students database or model dot find by ID and delete. So if you're finding by ID, I need to put a sync here. I always forget a sync. I don't know why. So whatever you are adding here should be the student ID. And like I said, the keyword ID is not a keyword. You can change this word to anything. You can change it to something like this. But it's better to put something that will be understood. So if you are not calling it ID, you call it student ID, so that when someone look at it, or user ID, you can call it user ID if you want. User ID like this if you want. The most important thing is so that when someone looks at it, the front end looks at it, they will understand what you are referring to. So this is going to delete. If you delete, return a response with a status of 200.json and a message that will say deleted. No, you have to be consistent. Successful. You have to be consistent. Successful. Now, at this point, you don't need to return what has been deleted, because that is the reason why it was deleted. Otherwise, I'm supposed to return the deleted user here, but there is no need or no point returning it because the request was to delete it. So what is the point returning it again? So that is all. To try this out, I'm going to create another one, and the request type will be delete, and it will go to, let me find the endpoint. Copy this, replace this. Now I need to find an ID. So I will find, let me get this. This is Sonia. I want to delete Sonia. So I will copy the ID for Sonia and replace it here. So you see, ID is gone, but the column is gone. You don't need it. I will replace it with the ID and send. Now I have successful. If I come back here to get this request again, I won't see Sonia. Now I'm not seeing Sonia again. What I can do is go down to this Marcos TTT and pick the ID, come here and replace this ID, and then delete it. It's successful. If I come back here and send this request, scroll down, you'll not see Marcos again. So ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of the first half of backend, completing CRUD. Now, completing CRUD is very simple. It's not much. What we can do now is let's do something unique, just an extra. What I'll do is I'll come here. Let's say we want to add user wallet, like wallet balance here, and the wallet balance is going to be a type of number, and the default value is going to be 0. So by default, when your wallet is created, by default your account is 0. So I'll save this. It's going to be 0. Now, when you are building a website or an application where you have users and you have their wallet, the two of them are supposed to be in different schemas. But for now, we are using the same schema here because we want to create one endpoint, just one, that will do something for us, just one. So what we want to do is to create a user account and then later fund the user wallet. We are using the same schema. So what I will do is I will come down here, which is the register request, and this is in order. I'll leave it. I'll just go and find where I am making that register. Where is the register? This is the register. The body, I will change this name to what will I call it now? What will I call it? Barack Obama. Barack and Obama. The age is 40. The email is Barack at gmail.com. The full password is this and all of that. So I will create the account. Now account has been created and you see the wallet balance is 0. The wallet balance is 0. So let's create an endpoint that is going to be funding this wallet balance. So I will come here, minimize this, come down here, let me call it fund wallet. So I'll say app.get. It doesn't have to be get actually. You can use post, you can use patch, you can use put, whatever you want, but I want to use post / fund wallet. Fund wallet. And also you can use the ID here in the params if you want. Everybody's quiet. What is going on? Please drop a thumbs up so that I know you're actually following me. Drop a thumbs up so that I know you're following me. This number is still on 20. Are you sure my network is working very well? Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you. So let's continue. We want to fund the user wallet. I will put async so I will not forget it this time, and then rec and then response. So like I said, you can use the ID here if you want, but we have done ID. So let's do something else. We've done ID, but let's do something else. So what I'll do is const. I will ask them to send me their email. I want to use their email in the request body. So if I take their email, I will also need the amount they want to fund it by or fund it with. So I need these two. So the first thing I want to do is to find the user. Find the user, await student. Now we are using student model, but in real life it will not be called student model. You are going to call it user model or any of the model. Anything they want to call it, the company wants to call it, you call it. Find one. You want to find one. What do you want to find it by? By the email. So we want to find it by the email. When you find it by the email, here we say if not user. That means if you don't find the user, return a response or status that will say 404.json message that will say user account not found, or any message you want to use, user account not found. But if you find the user, what we want to now do is say user dot wallet, because we know it is going to be coming with user dot wallet plus equal whatever the amount is. Now the amount sometimes can be in strings, so you want to make sure that this is converted to numbers before it is being added. You can change this to be ordinary plus if you want, but we like using plus equal. Plus equal means keep adding, keep adding, keep adding. So you can change it to plus, you can change it to plus equal, however you want. So I have this. When you find it, then await user and save the details. Save it. When you add that amount to the user wallet, save the details. When you save it, return a response with a status of 200 and then a JSON message. Sorry, let me break this down. Return a message that says, what is it called? Successful. Successful, and then return the user. That's all. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to explain. Right now, for the sake of learning, the wallet, it's actually called wallet balance, not wallet. Wallet balance. So the wallet balance right now is in the user schema. But if you're going to be working in a company, you are going to have another schema. When you create the user account, you then create the wallet again. In the wallet, you should be attaching either the user ID again or the user email again that you'll be using to find their wallet. So, but for now, we are attaching both the user and both the wallet in one model. You can also do this, but not for big companies. You can do this for a project, maybe to fund crypto wallets, to all those mini projects if you are working alone. But for big projects like OPay, no, you have to create another schema. All right, back here, what do we have? We find, we return, we add, we save, and we return. So what we need to fasten is the email and the amount into this endpoint. Now we come here. I've created this account. The account is this barracks and the ID is this, but we're not working with ID. So what I'll do is I will add again, and it's a post request. It should go to find the endpoint. The endpoint is found wallet. I'll copy it and paste it here. Now we're not adding any ID here. Rather, we're going to the body to add email and amount. So I can actually come here and copy the email. This is it. I can just copy this email because I'm using this same email. So I'll come here, paste the email, and then add amount. Now the keys must match. Whatever key you're putting here should be the same key you are destructuring here. Both of them should be the same key. So the amount I want to add is 200 naira, small money. Product is broke. So I'll send this request, send, and it returns Barak, and you have the wallet balance to be 200 naira. Not, maybe it might be in dollars, but, and then if I fund it again and send it, now it is 400 naira. Now if I send it again, now it is 600 naira. Now somebody is going to be asking, how does this work in real life? How does it work in real life? The same way it is working here, that is how it is working in real life. The first step is to create the account. for the users. If you create their account, you create their wallet. Now, the second step, they are going to make a request to initiate transactions. Let me show you. That will be, if I have this preponed bills, this is a request to initiate transaction. What was still? I want to understand what you refer to as still. So this is a request to initiate transaction. If I send it to the base URL, which is this URL, I don't want to use localhost because we don't have it there. So I will send this request. What did I type? What did I type? What did I type? Server error. So I guess this is down. That's why I'm getting this server error. Otherwise, it's supposed to return a URL. When it returns a URL, you redirect the users. Okay, this is why. So I'll go to /success. Let me use this and then send it again. Yes, now it has returned. This is actually from Flutterwave. So you send a payload with the amount that you want to pay, with the email. Maybe if they're asking for phone number, if they're asking for anything else. But these two are compulsory, the amount and the email. It's going to return a URL. You pick that URL, redirect the users to that URL. When they hit that URL, it will then open Flutterwave to make payment. So it will open Flutterwave to make payment. Now the person is going to enter their card details and save. So if I put my saved card details, these are not mine. So I use that. I'll enter that, and transaction is going to be successful. By the time it's successful, Flutterwave will be returning a transaction ID to you again in the parameters. So Flutterwave will be returning ID in the parameters like this. If I click here, so here you are trying to verify transactions. So you try and verify the transactions with the transaction ID returned to you. When you verify and it is now successful, that is when you will call the fund wallet, which is this one. So there are 3 steps to fund wallet. The first step, initiate the transaction. The users get to make payment. You verify their payment, and then you call the fund wallet to increase the amount in their wallet. That's how it is done. So you said steal data, like can't this be used to steal updating one's balance from the developer? Actually, stock IO, the reason why this is increasing is because we are the ones in charge. If you hear that a backend project that is working very well was hacked and money was lost, the first person that will be called will be the backend developer, because the backend is in charge. Now, I just explained to you the conditions that must be met before this number increases. Before this number is going to increase, you need to initiate a transaction, meaning it will return the URL, transaction URL to you. The front-end developer will then direct the users to that front-end. They will make payment. When they make payment, they will send you transaction ID. You take that transaction ID, make another request to verify the transaction. If you verify that that particular transaction was successful, that is when you will now call fund wallet and increase their wallet balance. But for now, we are skipping the first two steps. We're going directly to fund their wallet, just to show you how fund wallet works. That is why I did this, to show you how fund wallet works. So nobody is stealing anything. Nobody is going to be stealing anything. Are these things done with the same API or different APIs? Now, if you are working with any payment platform, you are going to be building your own API to make requests to their own API. So, or you can do all of them with their own API, or do all of them with your own API. It depends on how you want to work. But actually, the best way is to build your own API to make requests to their own API. So their API will be sending you data. You will in turn send it to the front end. The front end will send you data. You will in turn send it to their payment gateway, just like that. So ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the first half of front end. Now we move to the second half. Any questions?
I have some questions, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, the first question, the first one, not from the code. I have the ones from the code you just implemented now. So the first question is, as a backend, based on what you have just seen, does it mean that we can actually build an API that will be adding money to our account? That means we can actually build something that an API that will be sending requests to top up our account balance in banks. Is that possible?
Yes, now that is what we are doing now. Is that not what the mobile app, the Access Bank mobile app is doing? That's also the same thing every bank app is doing. Money Point app, that's what they are doing. They are increasing your wallet balance. That is what I just showed you here. But I told you that before you increase their wallet balance, for now, you are not working with the bank. If you are working with the bank, you will need permission to do this. So if they are paying over the counter, they pay over the counter, and then the person who is typing it in the computer will type in the number that they have paid. You know, if you pay over the counter person will accept the money and then type into the computer and send. If it's sent, this is the request they are making. They are automatically making this request. Yeah, the counter will just type in the amount you have paid and send the request. The request is going to send the amount and email, but they will not be sending email now. They'll be sending your account number, because no two persons have the same account number. So they will use that account number to find your account. Account number is just like the ID. So they use that account number to find your account. Then the amount you paid, they will add it to whatever you already have. That's the first way. But if they are paying via payment gateways like Flutterwave, Paystack, PayExpress, any of these ones, you need to initiate the transaction, redirect the users to that page to enter their card details. When they enter their card details, the payment gateway will collect the money or deduct the money and send you a transaction ID. They are not sending you money, they are sending you transaction ID. You will collect that transaction ID, make another request to confirm or to verify that that transaction was actually successful. If it sends you a message that the transaction was successful, that is when you would then increase the user's wallet balance amount. So these are the two ways it works. It's the same thing. They fund your wallet and like that. So any other question? The code. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Before I come to the code, what I'm saying is that, let's say I have an account with Access Bank now.
Yes.
And I'm a back-end engineer.
Yes.
Now, is it possible for me as a back-end engineer now I build an API
Yes.
making requests to increase my Access Bank balance from the back
Your
end
own
without actually,
or user's own?
My own or any other user own. Now, without actually making any payment, but the API will actually be making requests and be increasing my account balance on the bank.
Okay, wisdom. You're actually wisdom. That's what you are. You're actually wisdom. Wisdom is wisdom. Yeah, but the truth is, what you're actually talking about is fraud. But you can, if you are working with them, you can do that. But that is fraud, because the API, the duty of the API is to increase the amount, whether money was paid or not. The duty of the API is to increase the amount, whether money was paid or not. But for the sake of security, nobody knows that back end. The back end will be integrated to a mobile app or to a website that is only used by the bank. Now, if that website is only used by the bank, it means that the person who is at the counter will be the only person making that request. So you'll be typing the details and typing amount. And the person is not going to type if you don't give them money. So you have to give them money, they will sign it and stamp on it before they type in your money that you paid and send. Then the wallet, the API will increase your wallet. So wisdom, that is possible, but that is actually fraud. So any other question? Yeah, Oga Wisdom is actually wisdom. He's using his wisdom. So
Okay,
any
sir,
other
thank you, sir.
question?
Yeah,
All right.
the next question is from your code. Can you just get back to
Okay.
your code, sir?
Which of them? Which of them?
The last request that was made.
To fund wallet.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, from there, I discovered that you used the user not equal to, it says, if not the user. Now,
Yeah,
and
that
that
means,
if not,
yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
it was not defined, period.
It's not what? It was not?
Okay, I think I can see it. Okay, you define the user there.
Yeah, here.
Okay.
Now, you can call it anything. It must not be called user. You can call it anything. So any other question before we move to the next phase? Yeah, my friend, he was applying for a job, and although he has a job, but he wants my input so that he will know what to tell the job offer so that they offer him a job. And I was able to write small thing on paper, and then they offered him the job. He's working now. The job, he got it, was it last night or early this morning? I woke up this morning to see his message that he has been given the offer letter, and the pay is 580,000 every month. And he's now a big boy. So that was the gist, like that. And he got the offer to 580. So as many of you too will also start looking out for stuff like that. This is the delete. As a matter of fact, let me push this to GitHub so that you are going to have access to it directly on your, because I want to build another backend, which is the second phase. Yeah, this is my delete request. Let me find my GitHub. Which am I not signed into my GitHub? Oh, no. It is still the same. It is still the same URL that I sent you the last time. Yeah, it is still this URL. I'm not logged in here, and I can't log in right now. So if you want access to the code, it is still the same code. So, but let me show you mine in case I'll keep mine open in case if you want to be seeing that. So the question is why did you use status code instead of status? Where did you see status code instead of status? Oh, sorry, this was an error. Now you can use status code, but I don't like using status, and I don't even know why, but there's no why. There is no why. I can't say this is why, this is not why. We know that this is the status code. We just know that is the status code. So, all right. Any other question? Please, if you're asking a question, at these assignments, okay, use the question and answer topic so that I can be able to see it and respond to. All right, if there is no question and you want us to continue, please drop a thumbs up so that we continue. We want to move to the second phase of backend, and like I said, we'll be writing logic. All right, drop a thumbs up so that we know to continue. All right, so I will close this project. Now, the reason why I'm closing this is so that there will not be too much code for you to understand. So I will close this project, I will keep it because of this. I need this URL, this MongoDB URL. So I will keep it. I will close this one. Keep this one here. I will start a new project. I'll create a new folder. I'll call it auth. Auth is short for authentication. So we want to start building authentication, user login, user registration, sign up the proper way. Okay, Abdul, ask your question. Go ahead. You can use the mic. Go ahead, Abdul. We're waiting for you. Is Abdul on the call? Sorry. It's not that. Yeah, it's Abdul actually. Your name is Abdul. Adamu Shwaibu. Are you on this call? Unmute yourself. If you are mute, unmute yourself and go ahead. Is it here? Can you hear me? Adamu Shwaibu Abdul. All right. While we are waiting for him, let's continue. I will open this project up with my VS Code. I'll keep where's my VS Code? Here. Open it up with VS Code. I'll cancel this one with Ctrl+C. I don't need this one. It should be gone. And then I will open that same auth file with my terminal here and make it bigger and bigger. All right. Is this the beginning of the error message? This is not the beginning of the error message. It can actually be network error is not connecting, but show us the beginning of the error message.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, afternoon. Go ahead. Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead. I can hear you.
The questions, sir. Look, for the questions, sir, please move over to your schema where you have the student. Sir, go to your schema side where you have the student model.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. So I can see that we have first name. We have, I think these are just the models we have. But let's say we want to add another thing there, and it's not on this
Something
student
like
schema.
what?
Is this going to work?
No.
Let's
You
say
must add it in the schema first.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, you must add it because adding it in the schema will tell the database what is expected. And also, when you want to use that data, you have a reference point. You can't use what you do not define. You have to define it that I'm going to be expecting this data, the other one, and so on and so forth. So, wisdom, when you say build a full stack project, I don't know what you mean by full stack. We've actually done full stack. We started from the front end and we called APIs. And now we are building the APIs. That is full stack now. The reason why I am not building full stack is you can't build full stack in one day. It will take you time to build full stack. And you see where we started from. We started from front end, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, before we coming back to the back end. And what we want to do now is authentication. authentication is still the same thing on the front end, not on the back end, but the same thing on the front end. They will send you email, they will send you password, they will send you phone number, whatever you are asking them to send you, they will send it to you. Now, it is on the back end that you will handle the authentication logic. It has nothing to do with front end. Front end is just to send you data, which is what we are doing with Postman. Postman is just to send data and see the response. We are not doing anything there. So except you said we should build front end in details, which is not in the scope of this training. For this training, the main focus is the back end, and that is what we are on. So we're not going to be building that. For SQL, you will not be it's not called schema, it is called tables, because SQL saves data in tables, rows, and columns. So you'll be creating table first before you start doing anything. Yes, you can create here. I can go ahead and create a new schema here and call it auth model.ts or JS rather. But I want to use a different project altogether. So, but you in your project, you are going to have more than one model. Or should I build it inside this project? So let's get if you want me to continue this second phase in the same project, put a thumbs up. If you want it to be an external project, put a thumbs. How do I put it? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs down. That means an entirely new project. All right. So, but if you have one project, it's going to be one project entirely. I don't think OP or Access Bank is building a new backend project. No, it's going to be one project. But for the sake of learning, I want to do all of these things again from the beginning. That is why I want to build a new project. This question, I'm not seeing what the error is. The error here is that your URL, something is wrong with your MongoDB URL. That's the error I'm seeing. And the URL, this, I'm not seeing the error message very well, but I know that you have an error with your URL. Like that. All right, so this is my new project. First thing I want to do is run npm init-y to create a new project. And I have this, and it has created a package.json, which is the first thing to do. So I will clear this with Ctrl L, and I'll say npm I install express, install .env, install mongoose. What else do I want to install? Express.env and mongoose. Now, I want to believe by now you know what these three packages will do. This is our server, this is our process.env, and this connects to our database and creates a schema. All right. Yeah, NodeMon. I'm supposed to install NodeMon as a dev dependency. These ones are normal dependencies. So NodeMon is a dev dependency. So when I install these ones, I will then install NodeMon. I have network error because of access. So this will work in your own. It will work in your own, but in mine, it will not work. I need to put in my password. So I will say sudo. But for you, you don't need sudo because I blocked mine. Sudo, hit enter, and then enter the password, enter. So now it is installing. And if I check here, you see .env, express, and mongoose. So the next thing is to install NodeMon. Sudo again. But for you, you don't need sudo. You don't. You just do npm install -d NodeMon only, and then hit enter. Mine is installing. Yeah, and it has installed. So I have nodemon as dev dependency. I have this one. So I'll bring this up here. I think I should make it, yeah, it should be like this. So the first thing is to create a script. I'll create my start script and I'll say node run. I've not created the file, but I know it's going to be index.js. I just know. And then I'll create a dev script and that will be nodemon index.js. So I have my script. I will then create my first file index.js. It's created. The first thing is to bring in express. Const express is equal to require express. Express. So bring in express, require express. Next thing I want to bring in is .env. .env is equal to require .env. The next one is going to be mongoose. Now I don't want to use mongoose here. I don't want to, so I will leave mongoose. My screen is not showing. Are you serious? Sorry, let me find out why. I will stop sharing now and share again. Oh, you can see my screen. Let me stop sharing and share again. I'll stop and then let me share again. So I'm sharing again. Do let me know if you can see my screen now. So I will then say const. My backend app is going to run on the express function. After that, I want to app.listen. But first, I need to create .env. So .env and then add .config on the same line. .env and .config. Okay. So here I will bring in .env and I will define my port to be equal to 8081. Now you can use any port you want, but I like using 8081. Recently, you can if you want to. Const port is equal to process.env.port or use 8000. So use 8081 or use 8000. And then app.listen to the port. Listen to the port. If you start listening, run a function that will console log server running on port. Yep. So that is it. I want to create the first GET request, app.get, which is going to be here, / this, and it will be to request the response. And all you need to do is return a response with a status of 200 and a JSON message that will say welcome to Youth Tribe backend. Okay, so this is my server. I've set up my server, it is listening, and I've created my first endpoint. So all I need to do is create the database, I need to connect to database. But before that, let me just run this to be sure that this is running and is actually making this request without the database now. So I will move this and then run npm run dev, hit enter, nodemon, and the server is running on 8081. So that's working. The next thing is to create my db.js. So inside here, I will bring mongoose. Am I too fast? Am I too fast? If I'm too fast, drop thumbs down. If I'm not, drop thumbs up. Okay, Bisola. But I wanted to believe that you understand this area. That's why I'm fast on it. I want to believe you understand this part. That is why I'm fast. But I will slow down now. So bring in mongoose from mongoose. Like this. I think this will be slow. Yeah, we have gone past this actually. So bring in mongoose. The next thing is to say create a function that connects to DB, connect to the database is equal to an async function, and then export the function module.export is equal to connect to DB. So inside this function, I want to say mongoose.connect and then pass in the URL here to be process. Now I need to get the URL. The URL is not here. So I will bring in the other one and copy the URL from there. Here. So I'll paste in the URL here. So I have MongoDB URL. Now I want to believe you know how to get your username and password and the entire URL. So process.env.mongodb URL. When that happens, then console log for me and say MongoDB connected. You can use any message you want. MongoDB connected. So I'll save that. Now because I have edited the .env file, I need to start the server again manually. So I will Control C, cancel it, and then start it again from the beginning. Server is running, but my database has not been connected. So I will come back, and where will I add it? Here, connect to database. So here I will say paste this in and auto import. Make sure it's coming from .db, which is this DB. Import and then run it. So if I save this now, it should connect in a matter of, yeah, now it is connected. So with this, we're done setting up the server and our MongoDB is connecting. The next thing we want to do is to create our model. So I will create a folder and call it model. Inside this model, I want to create the first model. It will be auth model.js. So this is my first model. Hope you don't have a question. All right, so you can attend to your question. So the first thing is to bring in Mongoose. I want to create a model for registration, how I want my users to register. So I will say create a model with Mongoose by bringing in Mongoose. Then I'll say const auth model, no, auth schema rather. Auth schema is equal to a new Mongoose schema. So the auth schema will be a new Mongoose schema, and inside here I will put the object that I want. I want their first name, you know what, let's just go with name. Name, no, let's go with first name and last name. First name, that will be a type of string. And it is required. It is required by adding required true. The next thing will be their last name, and it will be a type of string also, and also required true. So first name, last name. The next thing will be their email, and the type is going to be the type of string. It will be required true and also unique. You know what? Let's leave the unique part for now. The next one I want is their password, so that we'll have a type of string, maybe, and required also. Make it required. True. Now, these are the 4 details I want to accept. You can accept more if you want. Just put in any information you want them to send to you, their location, their state, their nationality, whatever you want, just ask for it. In addition, I'm going to add another object. Or you know what? Let me make it better. No. I'm adding another object for timestamp. This timestamp, what it's doing is that anytime a user account is created, it is going to mark the time and date that that account was created. So I don't want to manually add date of creation here, the date the account was created here. I don't want to manually add it. That will be a type of date. No, I don't want to manually do this. So I am adding timestamp. What timestamp we do whenever an account is created or updated, it is going to mark the day and time that that thing happened. So that is what timestamp does. So I will leave the timestamp and come down here to create a user. I'll call it users, const users. You can call yours anything. Why is it my user or users, anyone? Users is equal to new Mongoose model. The name of the model will be users, as in capital users. And the schema to use will be the auth schema. Sorry, what did I do? I wanted only this one. Then I will say module.export is equal to users. So I have exported the users. I've created my MongoDB structure, how the data should be saved. Now the next thing is to create my APIs, because that has been done. The first thing here now is to create my API. But before we do that, for all I have done so far, do you have any questions? For what we have done so far, do you have any question? Any question? If there is no question, drop a thumbs up so that we can continue. If there is no question, drop a thumbs up so that we can continue. If there is no question, thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we'll start building our endpoint. The first endpoint will be for registration or sign up. So that will be a post request /register. You can call it anything. It can be endpoint. Yes, we are using the same database. Yes, we are. Now, if you create your project is going to have multiple schemas. What we did here, we are working with two different schemas. The student schema, which is in the other project, and the auth schema, which is in this project. But all of them will be using the same database. So you can have, like I said before, you might be working in a hospital as a programmer, that as their webmaster or anything. You have a doctor schema, you have the patient schema, you have the drug schema, like that. You can be working in a financial institution, you have the user or customer schema, you have the staff schema, you have the transaction schema, you have there'll be so many schemas, but all of them will be using the same database. So many schemas, but the same database. Now, the only reason why we have two projects is because I want to start the project from the beginning. Otherwise, they'll be the same project. So app.register, take the request, take the response here. The first thing I want to do is accept their data. Const, what do I want to accept? Request.body. So I want to accept their first name. I want to accept last name. I want to accept email. And I want to accept password. Now, you are expected to do validation. Now, I'm going to teach you the proper validation tomorrow, but for now, let's use the validation. This one still works. The only reason why I don't like this is because it makes my code base very long if I have so many data to validate. Why am I having error? Return if not. Okay, I forgot the if. .json and put a message that will say please add your email. Now the proper validation is that this is going to be in a different file. That is the proper validation, but it doesn't mean you can't put them here. If you want, you can put them here, but me personally, I don't put them here. It's going to make this API code very long. That is why I don't put it here. So when you accept their details, you want to first find them whether they have an account already. So I will say const already existing user is equal to await. Now, if I'm going to use await, this has to be async. I always forget async. Await users model. The model is this users, this one, which is coming from the user auth model. Dot find one. Find by the email. So find one by the email. If it returns existing already, why am I using already or existing together? I can say existing user or already user. Which one is already existing? Existing user if you find it, then return a status of 400 bad requests and a JSON message that will say user account already exists. Like that. So, but if you don't find it, we want to create their account. How do we do that? We say const new user is equal to new users, then passing all of this information into here. And then await new user dot save. Save it. And then return a response with a status code of 200 dot JSON and a message. Sorry, let me break this down. Break this one. Break this one. A message that will say successful. And then the user will be the new user. Like that. So with this, we have actually started our registration, but we are not done. So any question? I don't think you have a question with this, but do you have any question with this? If you have a question, ask your question. If there is no question, drop a thumbs up so that we continue. If there is no question, drop a thumbs up so that we can continue. All right. Thank you. So this is normal CRUD. This is just a normal CRUD. This is not authentication. So what makes this CRUD authentication? That is what we want to start doing now. What will make this registration process to be called authentication? That is what we want to do. The first thing is to validate that their email is a valid email and it exists. We're going to do that tomorrow. The second thing is this password. We don't want to just save an empty password like we did here. The password is seen. No, we don't want them to see user password. We want to hash the password before saving it. We want to hash the password before saving it. So how do we hash a password? We are going to use a dependency called bcrypt npm JS. Bcrypt. So some people use bcrypt, some use bcrypt JS. The two of them do the same thing. Absolutely the same thing. And no one is better than the other. The both of them are the same, but I like using bcrypt. So you can either choose bcrypt or bcrypt JS. So I'll pick bcrypt. So the first thing you want to do is to install bcrypt. And how do you install? Already, I think we all know how to install, but let me just find it. We are not seeing how to, yeah. npm install bcrypt. So I will install bcrypt with Ctrl+C, cancel, npm install bcrypt, like this. Hit enter, and it will start installing. It says operation. The operation was rejected by your operating system. It's likely you do not have permission. Let me see. Sudo. I'll use sudo again to see. Sudo. All right. I want to confirm that it has actually installed. I will go to package.json, and I'm seeing my bcrypt here. So bcrypt is used for hashing of password, to hash password. So how do you use it? The first thing you want to do is bring in bcrypt. When you bring in bcrypt, you call bcrypt.hash. Now, all of these things are long process. I will do it in a short way so that you just understand the short way of how to do it. So I will go back here. Now I have bcrypt. I will bring in bcrypt by saying const bcrypt is equal to require bcrypt. And like I said, bcrypt is for hashing of password or any sensitive data, like their BVN, like their, if you want to hash their NIM, you can go ahead. You want to hash their transaction token, you can go ahead. So whatever you know that is secret, you can hash it before saving it. So before I create the account here, I think I want to hash the password. So I will say const hashed password. The hashed password is going to be await bcrypt dot hash. So I'm calling bcrypt dot hash. I will pass in the password and pass in the number of times I want it to hash it. So what is this doing? What is going on? What is going on is that this part is going to hash the password. So it is going to wait for the password to be hashed, and then it will save it inside this variable called hash password. You can call this variable anything, but it will wait for it, and then bcrypt.hash will hash the password. Now, what is going on inside here? Inside here, there are two parameters. The first one is the password that the user passed in. The second one is the sort, the number of times I want it to be hashed. So you can say, I want it to be hashed 8 times. I want it to be hashed 2 times. So hashing 2 times means it will hash it the first time, take that hash and hash the hash again. That is what 2 times means. 8 times means it will hash the password, take the hash it again, take the second hash it again, take the third hash it, and keep hashing the hashes until it gets to 8 times. Now, it is advisable to hash your password a minimum of 8 times. But I have coconut head, I like hashing my password 12 times. That's what I like doing. So that it will be impossible for anybody that will see the password to unhash it. Now, the most important thing is nobody's supposed to know how many times you're hashing your passwords. But even if they know, they can't unhash it. They can't. This is big crypt. They can't. They cannot unhash it. So this is, I want to believe you know what's going on here now. I'm going to hash the password 12 times. 12 is my sort. Hash it 12 times. Pick this password. Hash it 12 times. And this is going to wait until the 12 times is complete. The first round, the second round, the third round. So that is why I am using await. Wait for it to complete the 12 times and then save it here. When you save it here, the password now will become the hashed password. So what I'm doing here now is saying save the password, but the password is now the hashed password, not the password that was sent, but the password that came out from the hash. That is what I'm going to save as the password. So if you do that, save the data, this has become a normal registration. The second thing there is to send the users an email. Send the users an email either to tell them that their account has been created or to tell them to press a button to validate their account or activate their account. So if you do these three things, this has become original authentication. Do you have? Now, the sending of email, I'm going to show you how to send email, but not today. I'll show you how to send email, but not today. So, do you have any question so far on this registration? Any question? If there is no question, drop a thumbs up so that we can go ahead and create this account. All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'll save this. Go to my Postman. I have so many things here, but I just hope with time we're going to. No, I think I have register here already. One of them is register. Yeah, this is register. So we'll work with this register, and it's actually a post request and it's / register, and this is the data we are expecting. So I will copy this data, come back to Postman, and change the request, the entire thing here. I'll change it and paste this one. Everything has to be in JSON. So yeah, port number 8081. Thank you. 8081. Yeah. So I will, you know what? We did not actually validate the password. But we're going to come to validate password later, because you have to validate the password. Actually, let's validate password. At least one. Let's do one validation for the password. And that is if the password is not more than 6 character dot length. If the length is less than 6, we need to tell them that password must be at least or a minimum. How do I put this grammar now? Password should be minimum of 6 characters. So this is the first validation for password. You can also validate if the password doesn't contain a cap lock, like a capital letter. You tell them it must contain a capital letter. You can also, minimum of 8 characters. You want to go with 8 characters? Okay, so let's go with 8 characters then. Required for password. So if it is less than 8, you can validate if it doesn't contain a symbol, if it doesn't contain a number. We are going to talk about how to do that later, but just know that you must validate their password to that. But let's do 1 at least. If it's not up to 8, you need to return the password. So my first name is David. My last name is Samson. The status code of the why am I putting 200 here? It has to be 400. Sorry. One is a bad request. It needs to be 400. 200 is only when it is successful. So if it's a bad request, it has to be 400, so on and so forth. Yeah, that is a validation too. But we're going to do the validation separately in a separate file, the way I do mine. So here I will have david@gmail.com. My password is going to be E123456. And I will send. Okay, it says my server is not running. npm run dev. Yeah, MongoDB connected. So I will send the request again. It failed. Why? It crashed because cannot destructure property. Who can tell me what is causing this error? Somebody should tell me what's causing this error. Because a lot of you will go through this error and you'll be finding out why, what is going on. Can somebody tell me why I'm getting this error? Cannot destructure. You don't even need to see the code to know what's going on, as it is undefined. I know I stressed this last class. Cannot destructure app exactly a body passer. It needs a body passer. So I will go back to my index and add a body passer. So app.use express.json. It requires a body passer. Yeah, it's called a middleware. We're going to learn about middlewares tomorrow proper. So I'll send my request, and it says a minimum of 8 characters for the password. I will put 7 and 8 and send the request. So now you see our password. We don't know what this password is. The password is something else, but we just know that it is not exactly what we entered. So even if you see this password, you can never decode what the password originally was. You can't. And now this is what the timestamp is doing for us. It's telling us that this account was created in 2024, October 31st, 16:50:13. That is in hours. And also they updated that if you update your account, it's going to tell us the day you did the last update, and so on and so forth. Yeah, go ahead. Ask your question.
Hello.
Yeah, good evening. Go ahead.
So I wanted to ask, you may not be completely connected to us in back end.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear
you.
me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, sir. So the question I wanted to, I don't know, you may be connected to cybersecurity. You said nobody can be able to decode the password once you have it. So what if someone writes an algorithm? Is that feasible? Or
I can't hear you. I can't. Can anybody hear him? Yeah, your voice is now. There is no right or wrong question. Just ask anything. Is he here? Yeah, just ask anything. Yeah, the voice is fading in and out.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sir. So, what I wanted to ask, you said nobody will be able to decode or decrypt the password. So I was asking, what if a hacker writes an algorithm? Is that feasible? Can an algorithm be written to decrypt passwords or to hack into passwords like this in backend? That's my question.
Okay, let me answer your question with this. I will go and find bcrypt. Now, if you see this package, if you can see my screen, this is bcrypt and the version is version 5.11, meaning tomorrow or next, they will bring out version 5.2, version 5.3. Now, before a hacker will be able to write an algorithm that would decrypt something, the hacker would have been able to study and know how bcrypt works. The only reason why we are using bcrypt is that nobody in the world knows exactly how bcrypt works except for bcrypt. Just the same way the hash that works with blockchain. Now, some people say blockchain can be hacked, that 2 students did it, but you can't take the hash itself and unhash it. Is not possible. To hack it, you will start from the user or from the developer. So if somebody is going to hack this password, the only possible way is to write an algorithm that is going to be returning this password before it is hashed. And the only person that can do that is the backend developer. Is going to write an algorithm that is going to intercept the password before it gets to the part where it is hashed. Now, you know that the password is from top to bottom. Yeah, they say they hacked blockchain, but that's not, the hacking is not that they took somebody's hash and then decrypted it. No, that wasn't the hash. Yes, bcrypt is a dependency. Bcrypt is a dependency. Big timestamp is more like, it's more like another parameter you pass into your schema. There are other parameters to pass in, but timestamp is like, I don't know how to answer this your question now. Say, why does it function differently from other keys? If you look at it, this timestamp is in a different object. It is not in the same object as these ones. This timestamp is in a different object. So that is why it functions differently. Don't mind them. They want to hack. So you cannot take somebody's hash password and hack it. The only person that can do that is the backend developer, or they are going to track down the user and generate a page that will look like your page. Then the user will enter their password from there. That is how they can hack the password. That is how they can hack the password. So, yeah. It's called cloning, or what's the other word? Or phishing, or there's another word. Yeah, cloning, phishing. There's so many ways to get that. But to pick the password, yeah, farming too. To pick the password that has already been hashed, and unhash it is not possible. No, you can't do that. Now, before you even learn to do it, they've released a new version of bcrypt. Then you need to start studying the new version again. Before you are done, they will bring another version. And mind you, this password is hashed 12 times. So if you learn how the first phase was hashed, how was the second phase hashed? How was the third phase hashed? Because they're not going to be hashed in the same format or the same way, the same, how do I explain it? So you're not really the same thing. So the hash thing is going to come out dangerously. And to make it worse, if you then ask the users to enter symbols, that's the worst. Because if symbols enter into this hash, what you are going to see will be much than this. And if you make the password longer, it becomes more terrible. So that is how to do this. The next thing we want to do, what is the next thing to do? Yeah. All right. So let's stop there. Let's attend to your questions first before we move on. We still got time. There's few time. Ask questions. Any other question? Yeah, the most important thing when it comes to backend is you begin to think of ways that people can hack your backend so that you will do the opposite of it. Because if they study you and know how your backend works and know how you write your backend, they can easily hack your backend. So that is why you don't tell people how your backend works, and nobody's supposed to know, including the owner of the project. He or she or they are not supposed to know. But they should just tell you what to do, how to do it. But exactly how it works, no. So ask your question. If there's no question, drop a thumbs up so that we continue. Ask questions. If there's no question, drop a thumbs up. Okay. Yeah, try catch. We want to do try catch now. I can't find, that means if you can't find bcrypt, it means that you did not install bcrypt. If you can't find it in your package.json, it means that you did not install bcrypt. So let's do try catch. What is try catch? Try catch is very, very important in the backend. Very, very important. Very, very magnificently important. Steven, which of the crypto are you talking about? Because are you talking about because here we actually have crypto in backend. Const crypto is equal to require crypto. We actually have crypto now, but this crypto is used also in generating data and hashing data too. So which of the crypto, is it the crypto coins? Steven, do you mean crypto coins? Yes, you can actually integrate coin, but whether it is easy depends on how good you are with backend. But you can actually integrate crypto wallets and all of that to your backend. So let's continue with try catch. What is try catch? For example, let's say I want to create an endpoint that will get one user. So I will say user /ID. I'm trying to get the user by their ID, or I want to get the user by their ID. Request, response, let me add that async. So here I will destructure their ID from the params. ID from params. Now I will then say, cause I want to tell you the importance of try catch before we do the try catch. I just told you it is very, very important. User is equal to await find users dot find by ID, then pass in their ID here, and then return a response with a status of 200.json, and we can put a message that will say successful, and then pass in the user here. So this is an API that will get us every user by their ID, every user by their ID. So let's try getting this user by the ID. This is the endpoint. I will copy the endpoint. I'll come here, cancel this, create a new one, and is 8081, paste this one, go and find the ID of that user that was created. Yeah, so this is the ID, this is the user that was created, and this is their ID. I will copy this ID, go here. Actually, before that, if I type in anything here that is not the real data, or that is not the real ID, and send it, it has crashed my entire backend. So this is what users do sometimes. They will go to a website and submit an empty form, not knowing that that can crash the backend. You will ask them to type in number, they will go and type in text. They don't know that that will crash the backend. So users can crash your backend by sending you the wrong data. And you would think it's hackers that is crashing it, but no, it is not. So that is why you need try catch. So I will comment this out and bring in try catch. So if I put try catch here, try catch. What is try and what is catch? It's simple. I will put all my codes inside the try block. What I'm saying is try to do everything inside here that I will put here. Try to do all of them one by one. Try to get the ID. Try to find the user. Try to send a response. Try to do all of them. But if for any reason you cannot do any of those lines, you cannot do any one, catch that error and send that error back instead of crashing. So that is what try catch is. I'll take that again so that you understand. Try catch means I will put all my data, all my codes inside a try block. What I'm saying is try to do everything that I put inside here. Try to do all of them. Try to get the ID. Try to find the user. Try to send a response. But if for any reason you cannot do any line that is inside here, catch the error and send me that reason as the error message instead of crashing. So all of these things that is crashing now, if you are using try catch, it will tell you exactly what is wrong instead of crashing. But your error message, server is running, MongoDB, this, MongoDB is not able to connect. Are you sure you have internet? Your MongoDB is not able to connect. It is either your internet is low or your username and password, one of them is wrong. Yeah, either username and password is wrong. So, but MongoDB shouldn't. And are you sure you set your IP address to allow access from anywhere? So what I will do is I will copy all of these things, put them inside a try block, comment it out, and then instead of crashing, return a response with a status code of 500. That is server error, the JSON, and let the message be the error message, error.message. So that is what I'm doing. So try to do everything here. But if you cannot do any line, catch the error and return the error message for me. So instead of crashing, return the error message. So we're going to try that same thing again that crashed our website and send a response. Now, instead of crashing, it returned has to object ID failed for value of this. So if I decide not to put anything at all and send an empty ID, now it will not crash, it's rather it will just return error. If I put something like this and send, it will return an error. Now instead of our server crashing, it is returning an error. So that is the importance of try catch. So when you are building your API, make sure you are using try catch. Otherwise, there is every possibility that your backend will crash. Not because you didn't do it very well, but because the users will send you the wrong data or send you an empty data. So use try catch so that your backend will not crash. Catch the error and send back. Now it is called error handling. So in grammatical terms, if you go to exams, they will ask you mention one error handling process you know. Try catch. So using try catch is one of the best error handling. Now, if you want to generate your own ID, there are so many ways to generate ID. The code, let me go back to the code. This is the code. There are so many ways to generate ID. The first one could be, let's say we are trying to register these users. Let's go to their here and say we want to add a mat number to them. And it's going to be a type of string. It doesn't have to be called mat number. We can call it user ID. So let's say we want to generate user ID. Is there a place where our database can be saved so that when it crashes, it can be... No, the database does not crash. What will crash is your server, not your database. Your database will always be there. Nothing is going to happen to the database. Your server will crash. You have to go back and restart the server again. You need to go back and restart the server again. That's the only downside there. So let's say we are generating user ID. Yeah, we're going to use Axios, but Axios is like you want to make a request to an external API. Let's build our own API first, and then we're going to make requests to any other API you want. So generating the ID, and back here, Where do I want to do that? After you hash the password or before you hash the password? Maybe after you hash the password, generate ID. Yeah, generate ID. Yeah. All right. Welcome back. Our landlord will always show their self. MTN will always show themselves. So, but good to be back. Sorry, let me share my screen again. That was a network issue, and sorry about that. All right. Not bcrypt.js, please, not. But you can remove the dot and use bcrypt.js. They are the same thing. So let's say you want to generate their ID. You say const generated ID is equal to await. If you want to use await, but you don't have to. Now it depends on the format which you want to use. The format of my ID can be name slash date slash number. So that would mean that I will put something like here, string. Let's do first. Let's get the number. Number is going to be match.random. Get a random number, and we want to floor it. Match.random times 1 to 100, or maybe 1 to 100, and you want to floor it to be whole numbers. Floor it to be whole numbers. And what else can we do? You can then say const the ID now. The ID is going to be a string that will add whatever is the user's last name, and then put / get us the current year date. That will be new date. Get us today's date, and then / the number. No, sorry. Number. So like I said, it depends on the format of the ID, you want to create. Now we're creating an ID that has the name, the date, and a generated number. Or your ID can be in any format. There are so many ways to generate ID. This is just an ID that with this, but I'm not saying that MongoDB ID is not good though. Actually, this is one of the best ID because it is an object ID. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with this ID. But if you want to create an ID with your own format, that is where this one will come in now. So you have to pass in, what is that thing again? It's called, what do I call it? I call it user ID. So you pass in your user ID to be the ID, like that. So when you create a user account, it will be returning this format of ID as the user ID. So if I save this and try to create a new account, let me try to create a new account with a new email and send. It has crashed because of why? type of string is not small letter, it has to be capital letter. It has to be capital letter. MongoDB connected. Try again. What's the error here again? Math.floor is not capital letter, it has to be small letter. Where is math.floor? Math.floor. Sorry. Try again. Send. Now we have, so you see, oh my, we have the date is not formatted. We got a random date which is not supposed to be. We wanted, I don't want a formatted date. I want and that's because of how I added it into this place. So what I would say is but at least we'll get to that part. You understand what it, and this is none because it's not generating a number. Why? Math.random times, let's start small. Math.random times 100, add it to numbers, and save it again. Let's try one more time. The more you look, the less you see. That's what's doing me now. It's still coming out as not a number. Why? Okay. Because this is supposed to be a number. Or is this one not a number? Why is it not multiplying the numbers? Let's see. We'll try again. I'll go with 3 and send. Something is wrong. Okay. This is where my error is coming from. It's supposed to be something else as a string. But still getting me the numbers. This is a number, but we'll come to that. We should not bother on how I want to get my formatted ID. The first one was the date. I don't want to go into formatting date using ISO and then using local strings. No. But depending on the format they give you to generate, I don't think they will give you a format. You will be the one to decide the format you want to use. But they can also give you a format depending on the format they give you. So I'm having a little challenge with plenty things in my head. I don't know the format I want to use and how I want it to appear. And that sometimes it can be difficult because if you don't know what to do, no, you know what to do. No, you know how to do it, but you don't know what to do. Which one should I do? Should I do it like this? Should I do it like this? So having so many ideas to pick from can also be a challenge. All right, so what else was I going to talk about? The middlewares. Now, we set it to a string. See, there are so many things to consider, which I don't want to. We want to focus on getting the authentication out first. Now, generating random ID is very simple. You can use any format. You don't even need to go. This is me going deeper by adding both date and generating number and adding a name. This is me going deeper. Sometimes knowing too much can be a problem. You need to just do something simple. Okay, math. You see, that's what I was forgetting. The more you look, the less you see. Sorry, but let's not bother too much about it. Let's talk about middlewares. A middleware is a function that runs in the middle. That's just like a literal definition. Literally, middlewares means a function that runs in the middle. So, but what does it mean technically? I'll create a folder and I'll call it middleware. And this middleware, I'm going to call it validation for registration, or let me call it just validations.ts. And I'll say this validation, this will be validate registration. Too much names, I don't even know which one to use. Registration, validation, validate registration, they are the same thing. Try catch. Now, the try catch, I said, the try catch is simply you add all your codes in the try block. This is the try block. These are before the catch. This is the try block. You add all your codes in the try block. What you are saying is try to do every single line. Try to do all of them. But if you cannot do any one, catch the error and send me back the error message instead of crashing. So whatever error it is, catch the error and send me back the error message. Sorry. I am used to writing TS. That is why it is TS. It's actually JS. Now, TS is TypeScript. JS is JavaScript. But the two of them are still JavaScript. They're all JavaScript. But JS is the normal JavaScript. TS is the TypeScript. But are both JavaScript. So validation, I want to validate registration. Instead of validating it inside here, where is it? Instead of validating it inside here, I want to validate it outside. So what do? I will come here and say create, or I'll say const errors is equal to an empty array. I want to create errors to be empty arrays. Now, the next thing I want to do is accept the request and accept the response here. And whatever data that I will be expecting in the API, I should first accept it in here. Whatever data I will accept in the API, I first accept it in the validation, and I will explain why. So what do I want to do? I will say if not email, if there is no email, errors dot push into this error, please add email. So what I'm simply saying is I create an empty error array. If there is no email, I will push into the array this error message. Now, the same thing for the password. Where is it? If the password is not up to that length, I will come here. Sorry. Just copy all of them at once. But it's not good to copy, but so if the length is not this, I want to error.push again. Push into the array. What is the error message? The error message is this. this. So here you do all your validations, everything, and when you are done, you return a response if there is any error. Or you first check if errors dot length so that means if there's error, and there's another way you can actually check the length. If the length is greater than 0, you can also do this. So meaning if there is something here, if it's greater than 0, then you want to return a response with a status code (400) and a JSON message. The JSON will be the JSON message will be the errors. Sorry, object. So what I'm simply saying is pick everything, the data the user is sending, create an empty array, whatever you are validating. If there is an error, you push a message into that place. If there's another error, you push a message into that place. Now, if that array, if the length is greater than 0, meaning if it has 1, it has 2, then you want to return the error. But if it doesn't, you will do something else. But let me explain how to use it before we talk about the next thing. So what I will then do is say module.export is equal to validate registration. I want to export this one. Now I can export more than one. If I'm going to be validating registration, validating login, validating reset password, if I'm going to validate so many of them, instead of exporting individually, I am going to be exporting an object. So if I have more than one things to export, I will export all of them as an object. But if it is just one, I will just export only the name. So let me just export, let me just export as an object like this. So where do I use this? I am going to remove these validations because right now I don't need them here. That is why I don't add them. It makes my code longer. So I will save this. Now, before this function will run, I will bring in validate. So this is why it is called a middleware. It's a middleware because at the point where the request hits the API to the function that will handle the request, the validation will run first. So that is why it is called a middleware. It is always in the middle between when the request hits the API and the function that is going to handle the request. That is why it is called validation. So if I save this and try to create an account, let's say I'll change this to, and then send. You see, it is returning a message with an array. The first message said minimum of this. That if I remove the email and send, now it returns 2 messages. Please add an email and the minimum character is this. So this is how I validate. I don't validate inside the API. I create a validation outside, put all my validations, all of them inside one as a middleware, and then put it in the middle between the endpoint and the function that will handle the request. But let me show you one more thing. If I add the details I want, like gg@gmail.com, and then 67890 and send, You see, right now, there is no error, but it is hanging. It is hanging because we are missing one thing inside the validation, which is going to explain the validation very well. So this is it. Next. So after you call next. So a validation is like a policeman that will stand at the gate where you make a request. So if the request is coming, the policeman will tell the request, oh yeah, park to this side first. Park to this side. Bring your papers. Where is your insurance? Bring your fire extinguisher. Bring this one. So the validation will check all of those things. If it checks it until the validation says next, which means you can go, the function will keep hanging like this. So if the policeman does not say you can go by calling next, it will not move. You will still be there. The same thing in the bank. The bank, you're going to stay there until the bank counter lady or guy will say next. Before that person will be done, the next person will come in. So that is what a validation is. A validation is like a policeman that will stand at the gate. I haven't done it before. I'm just using that to demonstrate what the middleware is. So a middleware is like a policeman who tell you park one side, bring out your fire extinguisher, bring this, bring that. Now, if they check everything and everything is complete before they will send you to the API, and the API will handle the request and do all of that. But if it doesn't meet what they want, you are not going anywhere. You will remain there, or they will bounce you back. So before you reach the function. Yes, you have to import it. This is how I imported it. Now, you can do auto import. Auto import means, where is it again? Put your cursor here, hold down Control, and click on space bar. That will do auto import for you. Auto import is hold down Control and click space bar. Or the best and the easiest way is to try typing the name. Type valid, it will come out. You click on it to auto import. That's auto imported. So you must import the validation. So that is how validation works. If you don't call next, it will not go next. So this function, now if I send it, is actually crashing because of why it says the ID is not defined. I didn't remove that thing. I thought I removed it. Here, I should remove this. Save it. So if I run this again, now it has created a user. So I want to believe with this few points of mine, you understand what validation is and why it's important. You understand what try-catch is and why it is important. You understand what bcrypt will do and why it's important. And you know how to hash a password. So tomorrow we'll talk about sending email and so on and so forth. So we've done validation. That's how you validate. You can add all the validation. There can be so many validations here, both for the password, both for their name. So many validations. Just put them inside here and call the name of the function here. So that is all from my end. Tomorrow we'll talk about how to finally send this user an email to notify them that their account has been created, or their account has been created. We're going to talk about that. Then we'll start talking about how to log them in. Middleware. Do we have time? We don't have time. Okay, we're going to revisit middleware tomorrow. If we are talking about, why would you say you did not get the middleware? The middleware is simple now. Okay, what I said, let me just do a little breakdown of middleware. I will remove this next. I'll remove this one. and save it. No. We don't have a second session today. No, we don't. We don't. We might do second section next week, but not today. No. I have something to do after now. So we don't have a second session today. Wisdom, you want a second session? Okay, Schwaibu, you want the second section. Let me explain the next. So this is a validation, and it is a validation because I want to use it as a middleware. So anything I put inside this folder called middleware is called a middleware. So why is it called a middleware? It's called a middleware because it is a function that we run in the middle between the point where the request hits the API and the function that will handle the request. So if it stays in the middle, it is called a middleware. How do you define it? You define it, accept all the data that the user is sending, create an empty array. If there is no email, you push a message inside the array, which is this array. If the password is not up to this length, you push another message into this array. Now you check if the error is greater, if the error length is greater than 0. That means if it has up to 1. Side, second session today, no. We cannot have a second session today. Instead, we can extend tomorrow's class to past 7 p.m. We can if you want to, but not today. Today, we have other stuff to attend to. Well, maybe next week we're going to do that. All right. Let's finish up. So you validate that and you check. The only time you will return the errors is if the length of the errors is greater than 0. That means if it has 1 or 2 or 3, that's the only time you want to return errors. But if it's not greater, you don't want to return errors. So this registration, you will put it in the middle here. So you see that this is the point where the request hits the API, and this is the function that handles the API, and this is our middleware in the middle here. So the middleware is like a policeman that will stay in the middle and in front of the gate. If you are coming in with your vehicle, it will ask you to park one side. Park first. Bring your papers. Let me see your driving license. Let me see your insurance. Where is your fire extinguisher? So the middleware will be asking for all those things. And the thing is asking for are the things you specified here. It doesn't happen automatically. They are the things you... Now, there are packages you can use to do it automatically, but I don't really fancy those ones. You manually decide what you want and how you want it. So when it does that, it will then send it on its way. But if we send this request now, let's send it with a password that is lesser. We'll send it. You see, it returns an error message that says the minimum is this. If I remove the email and send, you see now it's returning 2 messages, the first one and the second one, supporting what we did in our validation. So we are validating only 2 things. And so these are the 2 things it will stop the request and ask the request for. So if the request is coming, it will tell it to stop. Hold on. Do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have the other one? It will be checking all of those things because it's in the middle. Now, when it's finished checking, let's assume there is no error. If there is no error and you send, you see, it is still hanging there. So this is another functionality that makes it work like a police. The police will keep checking your papers. If they do not say move, you're not going anywhere until they say move. Even if there is nothing wrong with your papers, they need to say go before you go. So how will this middleware say go? You need to bring in the keyword called next. Otherwise, this thing will still hang here. It will keep hanging until the middleware says next. So the middleware will come down here as the last thing and say next. So if you call next, it is going to pick all the data when the request is coming, check for everything you asked for. If there is any error, it will return the errors. But if there is no error, it will send it on its way, or you continue your journey. So instead of hanging, if you send it, it will continue and create the account. So that is the beauty of using a middleware. So ladies and gentlemen, bcrypt is not installing. Now, sometimes it depends on the Windows you are using, your operating system, but if your operating system is 8 or 10, 8.1, it should install. Actually, this has installed now. It's installing, and it is actually installing in your authentication. It says up to date, edited, and found no vulnerability. So it's actually installing. Check the folder you are opening. Make sure it is this authentication folder. That's where you see. To import validation, you don't need to follow how I imported mine because yours can be different. The easiest way to import validation is to type the name of the validation. Now, this is the validation. I will come here where I want to use it. Where is that? Here. I want to use it here. I will type the name, validation. And this is the validation. I will click on it. That is the best way to auto import. I will click on it, then it has imported here like that. So just type the name and then it will come up. It will suggest for you. You select it and it will auto import. All right. If there is no other question, let me push this to GitHub first. Do I need to push this to GitHub? I think I have a lot of GitHub with you guys. I need to delete, and I'm not even signed in here. All right, I'm going to sign in later and I will share the codes with you. Tomorrow's class, like shift the class to 7 p.m. Is that what you mean? Do you mean shift it to 7 p.m. or it should end? Shifting it to 7 p.m. is not actually my decision alone. It has to be a collective decision of everybody. And I doubt if we want to shift it, because if you shift it to 7 p.m., you'll be going to 9 p.m. Is there a need to shift it? Do we all agree? Yeah, somebody's not liking it. So it's not my decision alone to shift the class. Yeah. So it has to be from 5 to 7. So tomorrow we'll talk about other things and so on and so forth. But so far, we've been able to do well for registration, meaning the next one who is going to be logging will also do well again. So if there is no question, I have shared the first code, Rema. The first code is here. Where is it? I shared the first code today somewhere. Are you kidding me? Yeah, this is the first code for the CRUD project. So, but for this authentication, I will share it later. No, we don't. No, we don't. We only have one session. We don't. But what we can do, yeah, we have only one session tomorrow and in 5 to 7. All right, so you can drop a thumbs up so that we end today's class. Drop a thumbs up So I will end today's class. Thank you and see you tomorrow. Bye.